using classic cars at a time of year where people don't think classic cars should be used. We are driving distances that people seem to forget. That's what these cars drove back when they were made. Yeah, that's what these cars were built for.
We fly into Houston, we jump in these cars, and it's pouring rain. It's been raining for 36 hours. Roads are like ponds.
Deep water on the Texas back roads, it was kind of crazy.
Hey, we're having fun now.
We're not familiar with these vehicles, so it took a little bit of shakedown cruise to get comfortable with them, but once we got through that, anything was possible. There's no road that we can't tackle in these trucks. The first night out, when we were going through high water in Houston, we realized we had the right vehicles for this trip.
We used trucks this year, and you know, trucks are the hardest working vehicles in America, the best selling vehicles in America, and it was really a tip of the hat to the working man and an opportunity to drive trucks across the country, which you know, doesn't happen that often.
We decided that we would take the classic trucks through rural America, and so it's all the side highways that you would have traveled in these trucks before the interstates were built.
So we've got a 1965 Ford F-100 pickup. We've got a 1957 Ford Ranchero. A 1955 Chevy 3600 pickup. And a 62 International Travelette.
My name is Coleman Kilpatrick. I am a representative of Hennessy Performance here on the drive home. We decided that we were going to bring our Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk that has our HPE 1000 upgrade to it. And so it's just over 1,000 wheel horsepower.
Yeah, she started knocking, then she started really knocking, then she started really knocking.
We are probably 6 hours into our 8-hour day, and I get a phone call from Rock that he's got a knocking sound. And in general, a knocking sound's never good. Once he described it to me on the phone, I knew it was internal to the engine, and it was really not good. So off to go and find him, because he had gotten a little lost off the route. And sure enough, we had a rod bearing failure in the 55 Chevy, and we had to load it up on the trailer and still make it to Dallas in time for a State Farm event. The loss of the rod bearing in the 55, I think it really bonded us as a group, because very early on we had an issue that we all had to deal with, and everyone took on different roles, and it brought the group together. I will probably never forget 5 hours of goofing off in Aaron Kaufman's shop and making fun of him for being a Texan and hearing him make fun of me for being Canadian.
The enthusiasts rallied around. We got into a shop and everybody helped out. They don't charge you any money. We gave them a bottle of wine and we're on the road.
Rachel goes, hey, the guys are driving some old trucks and one of them blew up. Do you mind if they park one here? I was like, yeah, I don't care. And it's her, oh, well, when we say park, I mean, will you take it apart?
You know, old cars, that's what happens, isn't it? I mean, we're trading parts between cars to keep different ones on the road.
The reason we selected trucks is obviously Americans love trucks. They're pivoting towards trucks in new car production and sales. And we needed to remind people of the great technology of the past that really built this nation. These are the working man's friend, the farmer's friend. This is what America was built on, the history of these cars.
One morning it was very foggy, so I mean to go through farmlands and see silos with the fog on the back, and that was beautiful.
We are going to take 10 days to travel all the way through Detroit. Relatively easy to do, except we've decided to do things like swing off to the side to Chattanooga and swing back, and so by the time we zigzag through, we're over 3,000 miles.
I'm gonna wait till the car coming. We're in foggy conditions. We've left Arkansas. We're heading toward Tennessee on back roads. We're following a route book, which is this. Brett is doing that. We get this window back up again. The knob fell off it a little while ago. More of the fun.
So normally when a loose
loose belt squealing. Normally I would use Coke because it's a little less expensive, but we're going to use a little bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup. Put a little sticky on that belt to help it stop squeal.
Do you want to do a shot too? No, you are Canadian.
Oh, you should do a shot. There we go.
Oh, that is good.
We're going to smell like pancakes going down the road. I got my taco cooking here at the Taqueria F100.
Nice.
Just about done. I have to turn her over.
That's what you call a little Canadian ingenuity.
I think that's about right.
Let's see it.
It's about ready.
Oh yeah. Crispy? Oh, that's magical, dude.
You know, some of the most rewarding experiences we have on the drive home are unscripted. They just kind of are spontaneous, whether we meet somebody at a gas station or a diner, we start up a conversation with these folks, and you hear their stories. Oftentimes they'll tell you that they've had a truck like that or their dad had a truck like that, and you just have to take a couple minutes and listen to them. All right, guys, I have to read this to you. It's from a Hemmings commentator. It was just posted. It says, I met the traveling crew today. What an awesome bunch of people. Having a die-hard Mopar dad, I grew up loving the great American muscle cars and trucks. They were all super nice. I could have stood and talked to these people all day, but Mama was pushing them to keep their schedule. I couldn't help but laugh as she said someone had to keep them on schedule. Even though we had a great time for a few laughs and some great pictures, I only wish I'd gotten them to take a picture with me. A great big thank you to all of you. Wait for it. Chief Russ Parks, Tellico Plains Police Department.
We went on more switchbacks than I've ever been on in my entire life. One whole day was entire, 8 to 10 hours of driving on 15 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour curves through the mountains.
The trip this year took a lot of focus because we were on back roads, a lot of curves, especially going through the mountains in North Carolina.
Running the ridge here, right between Tennessee and North Carolina. This spine runs right on the line.
Kind of fun car to drive, even on these twisty roads. It's not just like the steering's not real tight, the suspension's not either. It's really like an American car of the era, less really of a truck.
It's like, man, this is how life used to be. I was born in the wrong time.
Children latch on to trucks for some reason. They see this image of a truck and they know it's something special and they really identify with. And that plays into our theme of what we're trying to do here is seed the future for the collector car hobby by getting out there and making these cars available to be seen. Really makes me miss mine. I used to have one. Been one of the better performers so far on the tour, and it's marked with the RPM Foundation, which is a branch of America's Automotive Trust, which advocates for vocational education in the restoration trades.
It's really funny actually to be in these old trucks and we're sharing this beautiful snake-like highway with a bunch of people on motorcycles and sports cars.
We pulled off at this it's really nice little mountain town of Hot Springs, North Carolina.
Yeah, you gotta break the loose for me. All right. You gotta tell
The
me.
locals hear this rumbling of a big Hemi, and they're like, "What is that?" And so I popped the hood up on the Jeep, and everyone, I mean, it's like damn near the whole town comes out, and they're all looking and in awe of the supercharger and everything.
David ain't in town, is he? Okay, because he's gonna cut it loose when he leaves. saying jump the track.
Yeah, one of the dudes actually asked if I could do a launch down Main Street because the county sheriff was off in another county doing something, so they had no police jurisdiction that day, and so I found it a good opportunity to do a nice little launch control for him, and we hit 0 to 104.4 seconds in that small town, so I think that's probably the fastest anyone will ever go through that Main Street, hopefully.
We met so many people like this in gas stations where we'd end up shaking hands or patting each other on the back and wishing each other well. That's the most rewarding thing about this kind of road trip.
And so, you know, that's always been my favorite parts of the trip is not only the car community, but just people in general that you meet along the way. They're fascinated by not only the vehicles we're driving, but by the trip we're doing in the middle of winter. You just don't see that happening very much.
Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. And it's going to be Logano getting the win.
This car here is the 2018 Martinsville winner. Yeah, there wasn't many marks on it until the last corner. Then there was a lot more marks on the car. The back one happened pretty early, but
Rubbing is racing, right?
That's what NASCAR racing is. That's what our sport's based on. Our sport's based on full contact racing. That's what fans like. They love that. That's what I loved as a kid watching it, you know, and even as an adult now, I love watching stock car racing for those reasons. So, dude, you're trucking, man.
Climb aboard.
I love
I know. We should have it.
This thing is really cool.
Yeah. You can feel the horsepower.
What's under the hood? You
304.
Okay.
2 barrels.
But we're
no more than what you need.
Yeah. You're not keeping up very well, aren't you?
Actually,
now I know why you're taking back roads the whole way.
Well, we were on a tail of the dragon style road for a while, and you know, once it takes a set in a corner, it'll just go right through.
This year, since we were taking trucks on the route, Shell sponsored us with their Rotella lubricants, which are designed specifically for trucks. And they protect over-the-road semis as well as just the average pickup truck. We've used V-Power Nitro Plus fuels exclusively in the trucks. They're great performing fuels. We knew we would never have a fuel-related issue on the drive home.
You know, I think highlights are always the team that we're with, and we have some of the same core players. We added a few people this year, and it's interesting because every time you start one of these drives, the first couple of days, everybody's getting used to each other. They're getting used to the vehicle, so it takes a little bit of time to do that. But you really quickly, after that, bond up and create a lot of great relationships and start having a lot of fun with each other.
You know, it can get a little tense traveling with anybody, but we find ways to lighten the mood, and so we play some practical jokes from time to time. And probably one of the grandest ones that we've ever done was actually Dave Horde, who is our tour master. He wired in a switch to the brake circuit and the turn signal circuit, which when somebody would leave the turn signal on, it would start the horn blaring in unison. And we didn't, unfortunately, plan on Tabitha Hammer, who is quite a mechanic in her own right, to figure that out pretty much in the first 5 seconds, to go right to it and try to tackle the problem. It's only when David Madera started laughing that was the game up, and we had given the joke away.
She's under the dash trying to figure it out.
It's a horn up here, but that's not where it's coming from.
That's the switch for the horn.
For which horn? Because the horn is up here. Did you? You asshole!
Hell is frozen over today. It's a little chilly, but you know, it'll be a cold day in hell when we give up.
The drive home is part of a cross-country tour of some of these vintage trucks. It's 10 days and 2,750 miles. It started in Troy and rolled down to the Spirit of Detroit. The Drive Home 4 Vintage Truck Rally rolled down Woodward. Just another way to celebrate Metro Detroit's love affair with the automobile.
I am really proud that this group is coming to Detroit. We have a lot of people who have never been to Detroit in this group, and so to show off our city and see what's going on is so important to me. And I'm happy that it ends here, and I'm happy that we're doing it for Detroit and for the auto show.
We had 10 or 12 car folks come out with their vehicles and some really nice classics, and they followed us all along, so it was a lot of fun.
I am a hot rodder at heart, so Woodward has a personal significance for me. I think it's cool that the Michigan State Police, they're our escort down there so we don't stop at any lights.
And I feel like the drive home itself, the event, is really starting to gain traction and attention.
Yeah, coming down Woodward is it's actually like coming home now. We've had such a great time over the last 4 years, and it's special because this is the last time we'll be doing it in the winter. And so it's great to see people that are willing to bring out their cars in the winter, brave the elements, and show that cars are meant to be driven, and that they're enthusiastic behind our project and what we're doing.
It was just an unreal feeling, just being able to drive down Woodward Avenue in general.
And it's all about trucks, because Americans love trucks. And so we made a 3,200-mile journey here to come to Detroit, to open the show, to celebrate what's going on here, and call attention to the automobile and its importance in America and its importance to the city. This town, downtown, is really going to rock. And we're going to bring some things to it from the road. I'm not going to say what we're going to do, but just stay tuned, because we're going to make it a good time as we come back here.
In June 2020, we're going to have activations, and we're going to have experiences in the cars with technology, with products, and it's all built on the shoulders of America's Car Museum, America's Automotive Trust. The whole team, I thank you for being a part of this and being the kickoff to the North American International Auto Show this year. Thanks everybody again for being here.